On this episode, we'll discuss boosting your church's online presence. Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast, the show that is dedicated to inspiring leaders and empowering healthy churches. I'm your host, Kendall Connor, and I hope that you're doing well wherever you're joining us from today. Maybe you're listening at the gym or on your commute, or if you're like me, listening to the podcast wherever you're accomplishing some random task, whatever it may be. Wherever you're listening from, you picked a great episode to hop into because I'm thrilled to share that we have an incredible guest today. Let me tell you all about him. Chandler Boyce is a church marketing coach, and he's the owner of the Marketing Co-op. There, he helps pastors expand their church's online reach through things like SEO, paid ads, and smart digital strategy. He is a husband and a father, and he's joining us today from Fort Worth, Texas. Chandler says that he's passionate about helping churches communicate clearly and grow effectively. Today, we're going to be talking all about how you can boost your church's online presence from being invisible to unmissable. So maybe your church, you have a website, you got social media, you got that online presence you've been working on, but deep down, you're just feeling like you're not reaching people the way that you want to. You're unsure of where to start, how to make it better. Maybe you're doing lots of things, but you feel like just nothing is sticking. This episode is going to be for you. Before we jump in, I'd like to encourage all of you listeners, if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're enjoying our show. We want to make sure that you stay in the loop as we continue to release these conversations and provide valuable resources. We want to make sure that you don't miss a thing. All right, without further ado, let's welcome Chandler to the show. Hey there, how are you, man?
Kendall, my friend, thanks for having me on. We've been going back and forth for a couple weeks, but we're here. We made it.
I'm glad we made it. We made it, and I'm glad. I'm glad that we did. Yeah, and you're joining us from. I said it in your intro. It's Fort Worth, right?
Fort Worth, Texas, aka Funky Town, aka Dallas's stepbrother. We are the forgotten city of Texas.
I love that. I love that. I need to make a visit out there. That's actually sounding pretty good right now. It's been a while since I've been in Texas.
It's a great place.
That's awesome. Well, look, we read the public bio, but what's something that all of your friends and family would know about you that maybe doesn't make that public bio?
Well, it's funny, as we were having a little, for all you non-podcasters, there's always a little pre-show, pre-conversation. It's where Kendall tells me not what I can't say, because sometimes I'm a loose cannon. And Kendall got to go take his boys to the Savannah Bananas, which I am massively jealous because I am a lifelong baseball guy. I started playing when I was 5, played all the way through college, paid, the only reason I got to go to college was because I played baseball. And the only reason I went to the colleges that I went to is because of baseball. So that's always kind of something that I think some people know. I also don't want to be that one guy that always talks about how good I was, or back in my day when I was in college playing ball, all that stuff. Like what's Uncle Rico off of Napoleon Dynamite. I just have this weird complex where I don't want to be Uncle Rico, but I played my whole life, and it was a major part of my life experience.
I love that. That's awesome. And I'm trying to think of an Uncle Rico quote. It was like, I can throw a football over those mountains or something like that, right?
Oh yeah.
I need to go back and rewatch that now that you've said that.
It's a classic.
It's a classic. And I'm glad that you brought it up because I haven't had a chance to talk about this. Yeah, we just took my family to see that Savannah Bananas game. And yeah, it was a ton of fun. It was awesome.
Man. I wish I can't wait till they come back I hope they come back to this area because I want to go so bad.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was an unforgettable experience for sure. All right, well, look, man, tell us a little bit about your story. I know that you've coached churches. I know that you're passionate about things like SEO and digital strategy. Kind of what sparked that passion in you, and now sparked that passion to help churches to help their online presence.
Yeah, we kind of have to go little jaunt back, but when I got out of college and my baseball career was over, and I knew that there was no way that I just didn't have what it took to go to the next level, nor did I want to endure the pain of trying to make it to the
Yeah.
next
Yeah.
level. Um, I got out of college and basically was like, man, what do I do? And at that time, that was right at the 08, 09 recession, right? So, not a great time to be hopping into the job market.
Yeah.
Recession's going on. My resume basically was, people that like no experience needed, and they're like, "Well, what's your resume?" I'm like, I've literally been playing baseball my entire life. I've had random side jobs at baseball fields, um, and so I got connected to a local church and got in a small group, started serving, trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. Felt like God gave me one word. He told me to serve, and so at that time our church had a summer camp, and so I remember that summer I served every day, every night, every
Wow.
position, every second I could. Through that through that time, I ended up meeting my wife, who was the pastor's daughter. Shout out to all the PKs out there, praying for you. It's okay. Jesus loves you. You may need some help, especially if you went through the church in the 80s and 90s. But you got a special place in my heart. So I started serving. My first couple jobs were in sales and construction. Uh, that's what I thought I wanted to do. Had a marketing degree, didn't really mean much for at that time. And then I actually came on staff at the church, and so I was actually in full time ministry. I was over a summer camp for about 10 years called Youth America in Oklahoma, and led that, grew that. God did amazing things. I could tell you stories about that for days and days on end.
Yeah.
And then we moved down from Oklahoma to Texas to help one of my friends revitalize a church, and was the XP there for a little while. Jumped back into the marketplace. My wife's actually still on staff at our church here in Fort Worth called Trademark, and my friend and pastor Landon Pickering, and we've been here since 2020. And so I say all to say to give context of to the pastors out there listening, not listening, whatever. I've been in your shoes. I had to run through the budget meetings. I was the one person who complained and brought up, we need a better website, we need better social media, we need
Right.
this, we need that. And my pastor would say, okay, well, then that's your responsibility now. So then after a few years, I was the one running 4 or 5 websites and all the email campaigns and marketing campaigns. I mean, literally everything that went out at some level,
Yeah.
I was putting my hands on to. And I thought I knew a lot. I thought I understood it. I thought I knew it worked. And I did. But a brief stint before what I'm doing now. And after that, I got to work with one of my friends, good friends, marketing agencies. And I thought I knew about marketing, digital marketing, and everything that goes into it. That the year that I was with him and his company, my whole world was opened up.
Wow.
And through that time, and still having a heart for the local church and having a lot of friends, great friends that are pastors in the ministry, I just realized there was a gap and that the church seemed to be lagging behind and just missing out on some of these opportunities to really reach people, because it's the
Yeah.
first time in the history of the world that we know of that you can be in the middle of nowhere, and if you have cell service Wi-Fi, you can record something, write something, post something, and you can reach people, you can connect with people,
Yes.
you can build relationships. And so having been on the other side of this conversation and trying to figure out what works, how do we connect with
Yes.
people, how do we all these things, all the I I get it. And then having gone through that and then being like, okay, here's what works, here are what we can do, here's what we shouldn't do, all those things. So it just came out of heart again for God, for his house, for his bride, for the church, and to come alongside pastors. Man, pastors
Yes.
have a unique calling, and I think a lot of times, for better or for worse, try to do too much. And I just
Yeah.
want to be a resource, a relationship, a service, whatever, to come along and say, hey, I'm here. If you have questions, if you need me to do stuff for you, if you need me to train your team, whatever it is, like let me know. Because I've been on the other side of how do we reach people? How do we get people to church? How do we connect with them? How do we engage with people in our church, etc.?
I love hearing your heart from that and kind of hearing some of the background because yeah, it makes a difference. There are so many ministry leaders who are out there. They're trying to put together the pieces. They're trying to figure out the different things. And
Yeah.
so I love hearing that kind of you bring both of those worlds. You've got the church experience, but also you spent the time in the professional marketing. And, I think that there's a place where bridging the gap between those two things, it can be really helpful, right?
Oh yeah. Oh,
So
for
I
sure.
know that most churches, right? They know that they need to be online. I don't in this day and age, right? Like it seems obvious, but not all of them know how to be effective online. And I'm
Yeah.
just kind of curious from your perspective, where would you recommend that a ministry or a church, where can they start?
That's a great question. I was thinking a lot about this and on how technical, like, do I want to get real technical or do I want to kind of get, a little bit more 20,000 feet I have this conversation daily with different pastors and so it always depends on where they're at.
Yeah.
I'll say this from what I've seen, having been doing this basically full time for almost 4 years now, um, being in the marketing world for basically since I got out of college. The biggest miss that I see, the common where there's the greatest opportunity is your church's website. That it's got to start there because that is the foundation of your church being found online where people can go and get information, check you out, ask questions, learn potentially. That's the foundation of the house. I always use that analogy, but if you have a great website, everything that you do after that is putting fuel on the fire. And
Yeah.
so I feel like a lot of churches they will spend a lot of time and energy on LED screens, the size of their building, keeping their building excellent, landscaping, all those things. But where we are now is you have to realize that almost everyone before they step foot in onto your church property, before they drive into the parking lot, before they maybe even drive and see your beautiful church sign or building,
Yeah.
they're going online. They're looking
Yes.
at your Google profile, your website, your social media. So, and we could, again, we could do a whole session
Yeah.
on this, but I would say invest in your website like you invest in your building.
Mhm.
If you are someone that believes in excellence, and excellence for me is doing the best of what you have. So we're going to take care of the things that God's entrusted to us. So if you take care of your building and you put time and money into it, you need to do that with your website. When I get if you don't have a budget and you got to do what you got to do, great. But if you're a church and you have a decent budget and you basically have there's been no money, no time, no energy, no professional help put in your website,
Wow.
you're missing a big part of where our culture is today.
I love that you said that a website is a foundation, right? Like that's something we can get hung up. I mean, so I've seen some ministries, they will get caught up in all of the other things, right? And even in communications, we focused on, we've got to have, we got to be on famous on TikTok. We've got
Mm,
we've got to be on Instagram. We've got to make sure we've got a Facebook page that we've put together and all of those
yeah,
things. But without having that foundation of a website, I feel like we're kind of missing because people are going to go looking for you, right? Like they're going to make
yeah,
sure that you're a legitimate place before they step foot inside your building these days. So I feel like that's such great wisdom, and again, putting that sense of excellence into your site, it's important because
yeah,
if it's thrown together, how you represent yourself on that website or on Google or all of these different places, that is a representation of you online, right? That's how, if they find you there first, they may never set foot in your building because of a negative impression that they got when they found you online. So in 2025 and beyond, that is such a big deal. Uh, Go ahead.
Well, the
Yeah.
stats, and here's a just for all you stats nerds out there, which I'm a numbers guy. Being a nerd, it's 2025. Being a nerd is actually cool. It's no longer a bad thing. My favorite people are nerds and organized people, but there are stats out there that say, and there's many stats, but basically, once someone gets to your website, most like three-fourths of people will make a decision whether or not to show up in person based on your website alone.
Wow. We gotta have it right. Yeah, man, those stats, that's kind of a surprise. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but yeah, I mean, it's an important, it's a big deal. And maybe, if you're listening today and you're like, "Man, I haven't thought about my website in a while," this is a good reminder for sure.
And you're not
Chan
alone. And you're not alone. I would
Right.
say, like, what I don't want people to feel, I don't want you to feel bad because
Mm,
this is a common problem. And I tell guys all the time that are on my end, I'm like, hey, if you want to help churches within the marketing space,
yeah.
please come and join the front because there's not enough of me and some of my
Sure, yeah.
other church marketing people. There's not enough of us to go around because
Right.
it's not a uncommon, it's a very common problem.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense, and we see, I mean, hearing the stats, we know that it's important for sure. Chandler, I know that I've heard you say before that a lot of times that when churches, they do have their website, they'll just treat their website like a billboard, right?
Yeah.
Instead of it being like a real place for people to connect. Can you kind of unpack that idea? I mean, if say a church has a website, how can they make this better and not just a place for announcements?
I mean, there's a lot of ways. I think one way that you could say that use the word motif, trying to be smart. One of the themes, motifs that I see is that, but we are as the church, as pastors, as Christians, we are called to live a life that represents Jesus, but then also to replicate, multiply ourselves, and build other
Yeah.
disciples. And if we're only relying on Sundays to do that, we're missing it. And so I think
Mm,
a really easy thing is especially now with AI is what are you putting on your website that you can help people, resource people, educate people, encourage people, whatever that
wow.
may be? I think for every church and pastors, it may look a little bit different, but your your website can be a resource content rich platform. Whether it's just organizing your YouTube videos on your website, putting summaries, putting notes, writing a blog, like using AI to summarize, write blogs, whatever. I mean, there's a thousand things, not a thousand, but there's a lot of things that I could add to that. But your website should be a place of discovery and speaking to people who are looking for a place, a community, whether they're just looking for a church, they have questions about God, or they just need help, they need prayer, but then also for your people, like, are you using it as a place to sit to, hey, here's some resources, here's some guides, some courses, some content, whatever it may be, whether and it doesn't have to be original, it could be curated,
Right.
but then you're sending people to your website so that way they know that there's a place, hey, if I've got questions or if I need whatever, my church my church's website isn't just a digital billboard, but
Right.
it's somewhere that I frequent, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I love that, and if similar to you, I mean, our team at Ministry Brands, we have a platform that provides websites on different levels and for different size churches and things
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. And so we talk with folks that are going literally from sometimes nothing to getting a website, and then there's other times where they're just trying to put out something that is the very best that it can be. And we talk to folks that are on just on different levels, right? And I think the important thing that I hear you saying is that it's more than just having that presence. It's providing a value of some sort,
Yeah.
right? And so the people,
Yeah.
I love that you said frequent. I mean, that's the dream, right? Is that this is something that they don't just visit one time, but it's a resource that they can come back to and find valuable resources, right?
Absolutely. I think that, and that's, you could use that, what you just said, to other platforms. Social media.
Yes,
What's a great social media strategy? Add value to people's life. Be
100%.
encouraging, be helpful, be inspiring, resource them, give them tip. I mean, just add value. If you're
Yes,
always adding value, people will keep coming back.
yes. That's such great advice. We had someone on the podcast a couple episodes ago, Phil Bodle, who is a great church communications person. And he just one thing that he challenged me on was he said, "Man, if your church is putting out social media and saying, um, is if it's not an account that would you follow that account yourself if you know like does it add enough value that you would want to follow that account?" And I thought, man, that's such a challenge for us as ministry leaders, right? Trying to put out something that isn't just your announcements, but it's also a place that, you can encourage people, you can give them inspiration, you can share your message beyond Sunday, just putting things out there that are going to help folks during the week. There's so much time outside of
It's
that 1 hour
brilliant.
on Sunday morning, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So I know that you work a lot with SEO and things like that, helping churches to be found on places like on Google. What are some practical steps that churches can take so that they actually will show up on Google or on Google Maps or in these places? Is there any easy steps that churches can take?
Yes. So I want to preface with this is, um, this is an important term, SEO. Traditionally, it stands for search engine optimization. So basically, simply put, it's helping your church or whatever it is, helping it be found by those who are needing that. So, for instance, if you're in, Coeur d'Alene, and you're a church and you want people to find your church on Google search, there are things that you can do to let Google know and to help your church show up at the top of that search. Now, with where we are, especially with AI and social media, and with Google always changing its algorithms, and I did not coin this. This was coined by the great digital marketing guru himself, Neil Patel, who is he is brilliant. If you are into marketing at any level, you need to follow him because he is absolutely amazing. But
I'll
now
have
it's
to put that
search
in the show notes.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, Neil Patel, he's there's I don't like when it comes to digital marketing. There's different, we've got social marketing, brand marketing, digital marketing, whatever. Um, Neil Patel is, I don't, he's amazing. Anyways, but now he would say it's search everywhere optimization. So, and I'm gonna go over some people's heads, but basically, Google is now pulling from every platform
Yeah.
when it goes to a search. So, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. So you've got to make sure that in your content that you're including whatever keywords you want to show up for. So church in
Wow.
Coeur d'Alene,
Yeah.
whatever. Um, all those things. I say all to say, just kind of give a high level context. So one thing, if there's the simplest, e- easiest thing, and I can give Kindle, I can give you a link that for free that you can give people if they are interested. This is really simple. Anybody can do it. But when it comes to SEO specifically, your church's Google business profile is the most underutilized
Mm.
free tool when it
Wow.
comes to people finding your church online, specifically in a Google search. So when someone goes, they're in your town, whatever, and they're a certain distance away, and they're looking for a church, a Christian church, non-denominational, Methodist, Presbyterian, whatever it is, whatever those keywords are, that is one of the first things that pulls up. And there's some easy things that you can do to what we call optimize. But basically, every week that if you just spend 5 or 10 minutes, I'm telling you, you can be up at the top of a
Wow.
Google search in, honestly, depending on how much time and energy you put into it, I would say usually 2 to 3 months, but as quickly as a month, depending on how consistent you can be on doing some of the stuff like posting updates, photos, different stuff like that. Um, Really easy to like that is, if you did nothing else, you had no budget and you only had a little bit of time, that is a gold mine. There's some great stats on that. This was not in preparation for this. So, but I was just kind of doing some content research for social media. I'm trying to get better about posting multiple times a day. But if you add up on average all these search keywords that people search a month on like Google, like church near me, non-denominational church near me, Catholic church
Yeah.
near me, Presbyterian, whatever. Like you're talking on average, there's probably somewhere between close to a million people, or excuse me, not a million people, but a million searches happen every single month around somebody looking for a church, some type of church, denomination, etc. And so
In
that's
that specific area. Yeah.
that's just church. If we dove into like, how to pray, who is God, like Bible stuff, I
Yeah.
mean, and I want to say this as an encouragement to any pastors maybe that you're feeling discouraged. People are they are willing, ready, searching. And I know the stats say that the US is going to be a post-Christian nation and blah 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 blah. Maybe. But from the data that I see and the conversations that I'm having and the churches that I'm working with, I'm not seeing that. That data alone speaks pretty loud when you have there are people out there all over the US, and again, just the US
Yeah.
that are looking for these things.
That encourages me because people are out there, they're searching for things in their faith. They want to hear about God. They want to find those churches and things like that. And so I'd say that we're in a great position as ministries, as churches out there to put this content out there. Uh,
100%.
nu- Nuggets that I heard from you that I feel like are great is you got to make sure any church needs to have their Google profile set up, right? That's a non-negotiable. Is that what you would say?
That's the easiest step. I mean,
Easiest first step. Yeah.
like, eh, I mean, if you were telling me, Chandler, I don't have, I don't have any budget, which I could
Yeah.
probably argue with that because funding always follows vision. So I would say it's probably a vision problem, not a funding problem, but we won't get into semantics. But I would say if you are just tight on budget, your Google Business profile and find, there's so many great, I mean, even like your guys' company, Kindle, that are super affordable website companies that you can build something that communicates effectively or positively or welcoming to people searching for around, in your area.
Sure. Yeah.
Those two things will cost you almost nothing to very little, a little
Right.
bit of time, obviously. And I promise you, people will show up. And if you ask them, "Hey, how'd you find out?" They're going to go, "Google." Like, yep,
And just to be clear, so for folks that have no experience with this, when we talk about that Google profile, that's like when you go and you search online and you type in First Baptist Church in Fort Worth, right? Like that's the when it comes up on it comes up on the right side of the page, right? When they do, it's going to have the photos and the
yep,
address and the phone
yep.
number and the URL
The
and all of those
reviews,
things, the
yep.
reviews. So having that is something that can be set up and it costs virtually nothing, right? Like that's
It's
something that
free. It's
it's
absolutely free.
free.
Your Google profile is absolutely free.
Yeah. No, I love that. And okay, so to move beyond that, you're talking about content and people say content is king and that kind of
Yep,
thing. People are going to find you. I love that you mentioned that you put something on YouTube, you put something on social media. Those things are now people are finding those elements now on when they do their Google search, right? So
yep,
those things other things like blog posts and all, putting your messages online, all of that stuff is now able to move the needle when it comes to people finding you online, right?
yep. Yeah. It all gets considered. And now that you have, chat GPT searches, it's pulling the most relevant data, the most, it's scouring and saying, okay,
Wow.
within this keyword or topic, who's at the top, who's got the most content, who's SEO, like it's pulling all of these things. And that's part of it. I mean, we just released, actually announced it yesterday, an update where we're working on, where the churches that we work with, they not only can see their ranking within their SEO organically on, Google, Yahoo, Bing, but then we'll also be able to track and see what does their rank look like in AI searches. So
Wow.
it's all,
Which that
and
that feels new, right? Like the fact that
yeah,
you're going to
it's
come up in
that's
those
all.
places
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. It's all the whole AI. It's all very new, and I have to remind myself, I would probably be and I live in this world. I'm more on the early adopter. I wouldn't say I'm like on the beta stage guy. I'm not a developer, but I'm definitely quick to adopt, and most people aren't. So that is very, very new, and not Google. The platform as a whole is still the largest search platform.
Sure.
Google's
Yeah.
number one. This is the first year, though, in I forget how long, that they've actually declined in the total percentage of people that use them by like 1%. They were at 91%, they went to 90%. Number one is
Wow.
Google, and the number two search platform is YouTube.
Right. Which is amazing. If you never, for people who have never seen that stat before, I feel like that's always kind of surprising at first. So those videos and things that you're putting out there on YouTube, they really do matter. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there, right?
Yeah, they matter if you know how to title them right. For the love of God, people, whoever's doing your YouTube titles, please title them with relevant questions or topics that you're discussing. Listen, senior pastor, preacher, I know that you spent hours writing this message, and I know you came up with some awesome alliteration, some title, but more than likely, it doesn't make sense when it comes to YouTube, because you have to think about whatever message you preach, the topic. What are the questions they are asking around that topic? That's how you should be titling your YouTube. I'm telling you, that alone, Kindle, if churches would just take an extra 2 seconds, use ChatGPT, and come up with a good YouTube title and description, you would see your views, likes, and subscribers increase significantly.
And a simple example of that would be, and I'm just pulling this out of nowhere, so it's not great, but if people are searching, "How do I pray?" or the things like
Yes.
that. That's the way you would title,
Exactly.
rather than whatever series you were in, or whatever that you would normally put in that title, or all of those, again, the fancy name that you came up with, that doesn't matter so much. Putting actually in that title, how do you pray? What are the important steps of praying to Jesus? Like that right there, what people are actually
Yes.
searching goes farther than some fancy title, right?
Yes. And a great, I mean, ChatGPT does pretty well. If you want a great tool that Neil Patel, the guy I was talking about, he has a couple different tools. One's called Answer the Public. You can put in a topic and it will show you, based on each platform, what is the most searched question or topic.
Man, and I'm the guy that, like, wants to reverse engineer that. I'm like, okay, if I know that this is the most searched question about prayer, I want to include that in my message, right? I want to say, like, okay, if people are searching this and they want to know, I want to answer that in my message, and then we could put that on YouTube. That's just the way my brain works.
I mean, and no, and that's like, I think, I think I think pastors, you should be having conversations with your people and taking polls about where they're at, what they're struggling with, what
Sure.
questions. I think that matters, as well as there's data on everything online. Like, there are tools that can show you
Yeah.
stats on every search, keyword, question. I mean, you can just go into ChatGPT and just, hey, what are the, you know, do some deep research and
Yeah.
give me the top five most whatever on this topic, and it'll spit it out for you.
Yeah. No, I love that. So, something with digital marketing that I know there's lots of different strategies, and there's things that I've seen small churches do. I've seen larger churches; they've got different things. I'm just kind of curious: is there any recommendation that you would give for something that's scalable? What's a strategy that could be used no matter what size your church is? If you wanted to improve your digital presence or show up on search engines more, is there any quick tips that you could give?
Yeah, this is I pause because I know that there's a lot of people out there that are hungry and
Yeah.
they want to do these things, but they may have very little knowledge. So I'll say this. I'm just going to dive in. If you're listening and you have questions, Kindle and I are real humans. You can get a hold of us. Um, I personally answer my DMs on Instagram. If maybe he'll put my
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
but
We'll
you
link
can.
everything up. Yeah.
I will. If you are someone who is hungry and you're willing to learn a little bit, I have resources on about everything. I just want to lead with that. So I don't want to leave anyone like whatever. Um, so let's talk about what are some simple scalable things. Number one, what costs time and not money? We already talked about the Google business profile. That is your website. Start there, get a good website, invest as much as you can, time, energy, professional, great photos, language, make it represent your church.
Yeah.
Get other people's opinions. Start there. Google business profile. I'm telling you, I work and have talked to churches all over the country of all different
Yeah.
sizes. And in the last 3 years, I've probably seen maybe two or three churches that are actively engaging or optimizing their Google business profile. So
Right.
that right there, you don't most churches aren't doing that. So just by doing that, you're gonna stand out. Then another simple thing is, and some of you just go ask ChatGPT what I'm about to tell you. When it comes to your website and each page you have is what is called a meta title and a meta description. You need to make sure those are filled out. So if it's your homepage and you are a church in Fort Worth, you want to put something like Christian, local Christian church, Fort Worth, TX, Texas. You don't have to put your church's name because people, if they know your name, they already know your church. Don't worry about it. But you want to do a specific title description and meta description for every single one of your pages.
Wow.
If you do just that, and then you make sure that your Google Search Console is set up, I'm telling you, you will shoot to the top of organic search.
Wow.
And that right there almost doesn't work for any other industry niche other than churches because almost no churches have ongoing SEO strategies. They're not posting blogs. They're not updating their website meta descriptions. They
Wow.
don't know about their all that stuff.
So that's a great tip, and putting together all of the different blogs and things like that that we do that I work with here at Ministry Brands. I definitely know about the meta description and things like that. However, I think that may be the first time I've heard for a church context every page, because there's going to be several pages on your site, right? You're going to have a about the pastor page. You're going to have a services, a
Kids
plan your
ministry.
visit, kids ministry,
Yep.
all those different things. Having a meta description for each of those, and that's put your city name in there. Put anything that somebody may be searching on those pages. That's going to be huge. I don't know that I've heard that for churches. That's really cool. That's worth listening to this episode. Just that one little nugget there.
I'm telling you that alone it's mind blowing. Like,
Okay.
and honestly, and
Wow.
just to be transparent with people, because I've been on the other side. my team, we can do that. Like, we can go in and optimize someone's Google Business profile, and depending on how many pages we do, we and we like, if it's like got 50 pages, but if a church has got 10 pages, we can optimize a Google Business profile, a website, submit their
Yeah.
sitemap in probably less than 30 minutes, and then within 2 or 3 months, they're gonna be ranking for keywords, their impressions shoot up, their website
Wow.
click. I mean,
Wow.
it's wild. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, and it's also been the hardest thing to in the church world to translate to pastors is, like, there are ways to track if someone actually shows up, but it's a very gray. We're dealing with people. We're not dealing with purchases or,
Right. Yeah. It's not a
whatever,
how
unless
many
they
people
fill
put
out
it
a
in their
form on the
card or
website.
whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I promise you, the amount of churches that I even just, hey, I'll do I'll do this just for fun. I don't know if I can do this, but I'm doing it anyways. If you're listening to this and you're serious, I will do a one-time optimization for a church, if you're listening, and we'll figure out the back end later. But if you want to reach out, I will get on a call with you. I will show you how to do it. It'll take 15, 20 minutes. We'll do it for you. And because it's the one thing that pastors are like, I don't know. And then a month or two later, they're like, hey, we've had people every week go, when we ask them, how'd you find us? Google, Google,
Yeah.
Google, Google, Google. Like, I searched for a church and we found your church. Like, it's crazy.
And you brought it up and you mentioned that it's hard to measure, but I was trying to think of some ways that you can a church can measure whether or not their online presence is working. And quick ones that come to mind would be, are people, when you have first time guests show up, right? Like, or they're saying, if you're not asking, how did you hear about us, right? Like that's a miss to me in my mind,
Yes.
because you want to know whether or not it was,
Yeah.
that random idea that you had, or, it was at an event or whatever, or is it the website? So to me, that seems like one way. Is there any other creative ways that you figured out of measuring whether or not this is working?
I mean, not creative. I think it's simple. I think you need to ask people when you're talking to them, when you're doing follow up and text and you're
Yeah.
calling them. If you're not calling new people and texting them, do you even care?
Wow.
Um, do you have some kind of communication QR code form that just asks them, "Hey, how'd you hear about us? Was it a
Yeah.
friend? Was it,
Right. Right.
whatever?"
Right.
Listen, Google Analytics. I can tell you, I can look at a church's Google Analytics if they have it set up. You'd be surprised how many churches don't have Google Analytics. They're not looking at any of their online stats, which is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
wild to me. But I can look at a church's Google Analytics and I can guess pretty close how many people that they have coming on a Sunday.
Wow. Wow.
So that
'Cause that's how many
your
people are going to their website, how the traffic is. Yeah.
I can tell you how big your church is by simply looking at your Google Analytics. Like, it's a pretty direct representative of where your church is and where it's going.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Yeah, that it makes sense. I mean, and anytime you can look at those numbers, and behind every number is a person, right? Behind every number
Yep.
is a name, right? Isn't that the catchy way of
Yep.
saying that? There's a real person on behind every single one of those numbers, and all of that data is just so valuable. I love that. Well, listen, Chan, I want to shift gears a little bit. One of the big themes that we have with our podcast, we talk about healthy churches, healthy leaders. In your opinion, what is one essential component of a healthy church? Kind of a loaded question, if
No,
we're being honest.
when I was looking at this question earlier, I was like, man, I'll say for me, and it's probably, I feel like God uses our greatest insecurities and weaknesses to actually help other people. Um, and I say, like, I would say, even with what we're talking about, prophesy to people's potential. Maybe you're a Gen Xer, maybe you're a boomer and you're like, I don't want to stop. I'm not just going to die at the pulpit. I'm not going to just hold on to old strategies. I know the message, the model changes, but the message doesn't. But you're like, I don't really want to, or I don't have the bandwidth to go learn something else, and go find the next generation and speak into their potential,
Yes.
give them the tools and the resources and the time, and then let them run with it. Because
Wow.
this next generation, they see the value of all of this
Yeah.
and they see what can be done. They're already there. Why not give them the tools where they can benefit and actually add value to your church? So I think one of the things for me, even with the church, is we to go wide and to go far, we've got to go deep. And so we've got to make sure that we're taking time to pull, to speak to and pull out the potential, the giftings and callings in people's lives within our church.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I love hearing that because it's my own story, right? I think of my home church growing up, pastor in his 70s who saw me as a teenager and said, "I know that he has got a passion for technology and being able to do these things."
Yeah.
And very early on, just saying like, "Let's use those gifts for God," and it kept me coming to church. It made a
Yep.
huge difference in my life. So that is my story, and
I
so
love it.
I know that I can speak to the power of that, and I love that you said speak to the potential, because man, where would I be today if someone hadn't done that very same thing for me? So very
Yep.
encouraging. As we wrap up today, something that we love to do, Chandler, is a final five, kind of a rapid fire round. Are you up for it?
Hit it, man. Let's blast them off.
All right. So, what is one book on this subject or similar that you would recommend for church leaders?
I was, this is the one question I was like, dang, like I was trying to think of, okay, the one book. I'll say this. I have not read this book yet. It is literally on my shelf right here. It's next on my list. I've got
Yeah.
one in front of it. I got one more, but I'm in an agency coaching program, and it's the one book that over the last 2 years I've heard countless people say. It's called Traction. The last name of the author is called Wickman. It's called Traction Wickman. When it comes to just overall getting it's a business
Yeah.
book, but getting traction in your business and what you're doing and the mission. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll put that in the show notes there. All right. What's the last thing that you listen to on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you listen to your stuff?
Indiana Bible College. Their latest album is absolutely crazy, and it is. I don't know what they put in the water there at Indiana Bible College, but it is.
Gotta have more of it.
Uh, oh my gosh, I can't get enough of it.
All right. We're going to have to check it out. What is your favorite piece of technology or software these days?
Oh my gosh, favorite piece of technology or stuff. I mean, ChatGPT AI is just absolutely makes life so much. Yeah, it's if you're someone who is being resistant or you're not sure, I promise you, it'll make your life better
The difference
and
maker.
easier and more
Yeah.
productive. And yeah. So
As
that's
as
what
you
I
can
would say.
imagine, that one gets brought up quite a bit on that question for sure.
I mean, it's just it's every day something new comes out and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh my gosh, what?"
So impressive. It's definitely a new world, man, for sure. All right. What is a quote or advice that has kind of stuck with you over the years?
Quote or advice that has stuck with me over the years. Good. I was trying to think about this one too. I was trying to give you some profound quote by somebody no one would. Well, this fifth century theologian who was a monk in the um,
I think we had a quote from The Office like a couple weeks ago. So like, don't put too
great.
much thought into it.
Uh, no, I would say I think for me in my personal journey in ministry and business and life and leadership is the book, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, absolutely changed my life. And then I think the motto of people. don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I
Yeah.
think for me, it's always making sure that people know that I actually care about them over what I'm trying to accomplish, even if it maybe doesn't necessarily benefit me.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I just want people to know that there's someone that that cares.
I love that. I think that will speak to our audience of church leaders today. What is, wrap up with this question. What is one thing that you'd like to communicate to our audience of all these ministry leaders?
Yeah, I'm gonna get a little up in your face here. And not like, yeah, it this is the business or place that I'm in, but I just want to make sure and let pastors, preachers, church people know, even just Christians at church, that the greatest opportunity to reach people ever in the history of the earth, I believe, is online and it's now. And that's
Wow.
because that's where everyone is.
Wow.
In history, we've had our communities, we've had our neighborhoods, our school, we've had the people that are around us.
Yeah.
This is the first time that we know of in history that you can get on social media and you can communicate. And you may have to push through and it's not going to be easy, but the truth is now is that a person, a pastor, you can singularly grow your church just off of your social media account.
Wow.
If you're willing to put in the time and energy, add value, preach the gospel. So my my encouragement is this: lean in. Like everyone is online. What did Jesus do? He went to Zacchaeus's house. What did Jesus do? He went to the tax collectors, the sinners' houses.
Yeah.
He went to the well. He went to where
And to the
people
people.
were.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
don't stop going to the coffee shops and you need to be in person in the communities and all that stuff. That
Yeah.
yes, but there is an opportunity in a space that needs to be filled when it comes to online. And if this could be any confirmation, a word from God that someone's that's kind of like, I don't know, please hear me. We need more voices. We need more light in these dark spaces.
Wow.
Is there bad stuff? Is there yes, but that's why we need more Christians and pastors
Need that
to
light.
create content and to build encouragement and give people another opportunity to find what God's put inside of you and your story and your message. So I
Hmm.
we've got to fill this space. It's not for everybody. I get that. Um, but it's needed. And
Yeah.
who cares what other people around you think or other pastors, if whatever, oh, he's just trying to get in, influencer. Who cares?
Yeah.
Write the book, post the blog, record
Yeah.
the video, start the podcast, whatever it is, just start it, do it, and then just keep doing it. And I promise you, because this is it for my own personal business. I remember the first time I talked to someone and they said, "Hey, man, thanks for." Thanks for all that you do. Thanks for posting the content, for giving stuff away. Like I'm so like it's really helped. Or and I've talked to people. Hey, I've been following you for a year. And I'm like, they've never liked, you know,
Right.
I they've never commented. They've never, when I
Right.
ask them, hey, DM me for some, whatever,
Yeah.
but but people are watching and they're consuming,
Yeah.
but they need you to post whatever it is. So whether it's a Substack or whatever it is, just start somewhere and
Yeah.
do it every day for 30 days, 90 days, and watch what happens.
No, that's amazing. That's really encouraging. I hope that someone on the other side of this will be empowered by that, and just to put yourself out there and try
Yeah.
something, and don't be afraid to try something new. Love that. Chandler, this has been awesome. Where can folks follow you? Where can they find out more and get connected with you?
Yeah, so Instagram's I'm everywhere, but Instagram is, us millennials. That is the place we like to call home. My Instagram is at Chandler D Boyce. You'll see a guy look like me with a hat and a yellow and white black background. I try to make it. I try to dress in person and online so you can follow me across all the
I love it.
platforms. But yeah, hit me up on Instagram. I'm on Facebook as well. Kendall will put my email address if you want to email me. But yeah, I'm here. If you have
Perfect.
questions, I promise you, if you have a question about something, I'm not going to sell you. I've got resources on SEO, Google Ads, Google Ad Grant, Meta Ads, TikTok ads, social media strategies, whatever you need. Please, this is an open invitation, and however I can help, I'm here to help.
I love that. We'll link everything up in the show notes so everyone can find it really easily. And for all of our listeners, be sure to check out those. And I just want to encourage everybody who's listening today. If you've ever wondered if all of this effort is worth it, is it valuable to have that online presence? I would just say don't lose heart. Everything that you do, every update on your
Yep.
website, every post, every step forward, it really is making a difference to help people find the
Yep.
hope in Jesus that we
Yep.
have. And so it's not just chasing algorithms and all of that stuff. Like it's real people on the other side of those
Yeah.
numbers. And so it makes a big difference. So Chandler, thank you so much for being on here
Thank you,
with me
man. It
today and talking through this
was a
stuff. And
blast.
yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. And, for all of our listeners, if this episode has inspired you, encouraged you, given you any nuggets of wisdom, would you consider sharing it with somebody? Send this to somebody who's serving in ministry too. And if it's been valuable to you, please leave a review. Let us know how we're helping you because we just love getting those encouraging messages in to let us know that we're making a difference to real people on the other side of this. So hit that follow button if you haven't. Leave that review. Until next time, keep leading well. Thank you for all you're doing in your communities. We'll see you right back here next week on Church Leadership Lab.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.